asked me to be part of this event, I was excited, and as I often do, I went home and talked to my wife, Tiffany, and I said, hey, this is a great event, 7 speakers, I'm one of them, and went and talked about the different folks. Clark Lorison, top executive at First National, Tom Warren, former police chief, head of the Urban League, and on down the list. And I paused waiting for this great response, and she said, so why'd they choose you? So with this steadfast support, I started thinking about what I would say today. And as I reflected on the comment, I actually thought, you know what, she's right. It's very unlikely that I'd be part of this group. I'm a kid from Sutherland, Nebraska, halfway between Omaha and Denver, population 1,000. I graduated with a class of 35 people. There are more people in this room than my graduating class. Let's let that sink in. I came to Omaha less than 5 years ago with no personal professional connections, yet now I run one of only 2 technology accelerators in the state, and at 31 I'm the youngest member of the Chamber Board of Directors. So I thought that's what I'll talk about, my path from Sutherland to Omaha and some of the lessons that I learned along the way. So Sutherland was a great place to grow up. I could just be a kid, I didn't have to worry about certain things, but it wasn't exactly economically diverse. There were 2 large employers, Union Pacific just down the road in North Platte, and then a power plant south of town. If you didn't go to work for one of these after high school, you really had 2 options: join the military or go off to college. I was the son of a farm assistant and nurse, so I was expected to go off to college, and so I had to figure out what I was going to do with my life. As often happens in a small town, when you do well in school, you hear something like, well, you're smart, you should be a doctor or a lawyer. I thought about it, and I said, well, hey, I kind of like to argue, as my wife can attest. Lawyers make good money, I'll go ahead and do that. So I came to the big city of Lincoln, Nebraska to study business at Nebraska Westland, stayed there for law school at the university, and I had my path. I was set. Success was just down the road. And I graduated from undergrad in 2007. So in the fall of 2007, I went to law school, and right around that time, as you all know, the Great Recession hit. So I watched with fascination as this played out through the economy, but I didn't really understand how it would affect me and, frankly, change the trajectory of my career. I kept my head down, focused on my grades, tried to pad my resume with positions at the Attorney General's office, a lobbying firm at the state capitol, and a litigation firm. And it wasn't until I tried to find full-time employment that I realized the game had changed. And that line of job offers that I was expecting, that I deserved because I chose the right track, did all the right things, wasn't there. So I thought I was going to have to get creative. I started to think, but then I fooled myself. I said, you know, it just maybe needs a little bit more time. So I hopped on a political campaign, a statewide race, while I studied for the bar. The campaign ended. I took and passed the bar, yet those jobs didn't magically appear like they were supposed to. And it was tough. And like I said, I had checked the boxes. I did everything I was supposed to, and it didn't turn out how I thought. So around this time, I got a call from somebody that I met on that statewide campaign. They said, hey, come to Omaha, do some short-term political work. Frankly, I was eager to get out of the house, eager to prove that I had value to give, and apparently I did something right. Because I met somebody from the Omaha mayor's office. They told me about a position. I applied and was accepted to be the deputy communications director. So I finally had my chance, my ticket, and that's how I got to Omaha. Just as importantly, I learned a really important lesson, which is this. And I also realized that I was walking around with this misguided perception of what networking really was. I thought it was all awkward conversations and bad business cards, when in fact it's about being intentional with the relationships that you form. I also, like I said, so I brought this lesson, this experience to the mayor's office, which was a great place and a great vantage point to study a community and learn how to plug in. I was able to look at the power brokers, identify the spheres of influence, and start to make connections as I did my normal day job. And 2 of these connections really proved to be worthwhile and bear fruit. One was Mike Battershell, who was on the Greater Omaha Young Professionals at the time, an advisory group of the Chamber of Commerce. And the other was Nick Bowden, a founder of a local technology startup that worked with city governments. As I transitioned to the private sector, I stayed in contact with both of them and many other folks. And when the young professionals were looking for additional board members, I raised my hand. And directly, due to Mike's advocacy on my behalf, I was able to get on that board. I volunteered to run one of their series, got on the executive committee, and eventually chaired the Greater Omaha Young Professionals a couple years back. As part of being a chair, I was able to rub shoulders and work directly with the chamber board members, and apparently trick them as well, because after I was done with the young professionals, they asked me to stay on in my individual capacity. Similar story with Nick Bowden. After I left the city, I still worked with them, stayed on top of their company as they built a bigger customer base and eventually raised money from Dundee Venture Capital and other investors, Dundee being from Omaha, Nebraska. When they raised that money, I came on as the 7th employee, built their client services division over 2 years, and when the founder of their original investor started Straight Shot, I not only had direct line through connections, I also had a track record of adding value. But one important point that I need to make, I'm not advocating for shameless self-promotion. One of my favorite quotes is by President Dwight Eisenhower, and he said, "Always take your job seriously, never yourself." If you align yourself with individuals and organizations that are having an impact, you add real value, it will be recognized, and opportunities will come your way. You don't have to talk about how great you are, you just need to add value. So I chose this as the name of my talk, and it's actually derived from a quote from another president, John Adams. He said that all individuals are motivated by the exact same thing, the passion for distinction. How we differ relates to why we want to be, or how we want to be distinct. If you give your time and resources, you want to be distinct for being charitable. If you pursue making a lot of money, you want to be distinct for having wealth. If you want influence, distinct for having an impact, and so on. It's less important what that is. What's important, as Clark said, and as Socrates said, is that you know yourself, know thyself. Once you do that, it's really all about being intentional about the relationships that you form and maintain, allocating your most precious resource, your time, towards organizations and groups that align with your goals. And finally, never forgetting that the best way to be valued is to add real value. So hopefully something I said is valuable to you all, and hopefully I proved my wife wrong in the process. So thanks for the time.